The Frogman on the Riverside Road or the Loveland Frogman? Have you ever driven down a lonely road at night when the fog rolls in low across the ground and you suddenly feel like something is watching you from the darkness just beyond your headlights? Most people shrug off shadows as tricks of the mind. But every now and then, someone sees something that should not exist. And once you hear their story, you'll never forget it. Tonight, we're diving into one of the strangest, most unsettling encounters ever reported in North American cryptid lore. The Frogman. Not the playful cartoon mascot. Not a scuba diver. But a tall, leathery-skinned, amphibious humanoid that lurks near rivers, bridges, and sometimes, right in the middle of the road. So get comfortable. Dim the lights. And let's go to the place where this story begins. On a quiet Ohio road in the dead of night, where three friends witnessed something they still refuse to talk about all these years later. It was late summer, humid, sticky, the kind of night where crickets drown out your thoughts and the air tastes like rain. Three friends, all in their early 20s, were driving home from a late-night diner just outside Loveland. The road was empty, the world quiet except for the soft hum of the tires on asphalt. Jake, the driver, kept tapping the steering wheel, bored. Mia scrolled on her phone. And the third, Ryan, stared absently out the passenger window into the dark silhouettes of trees. Then the fog appeared. It wasn't gradual. One turn they made, just one, and the world instantly sank into this thick, pale blanket that swallowed the headlights. Jake slowed down. "Where did this even come from?" he muttered. Ryan leaned forward. Something felt wrong. That kind of wrongness you can't explain, but your body knows it's time to prepare for something bad. They kept driving. The fog thickened. And that's when they saw it. At first, it was just a shape on the right side of the road, small, crouched, like someone rummaging through the grass. Jake slowed even more. "What the hell?" Mia whispered. The thing turned. The headlights caught it directly. It wasn't a person. It wasn't any animal they knew. The creature stood up, slowly, awkwardly, and for a moment, none of them made a sound. It was tall. Maybe 5 feet, maybe more. Its skin was sleek and rubbery, glistening like it had just crawled out of a river. Its limbs were long and wiry, and it held something in one of its hands, or claws. A long stick. A branch. Something thin and metallic. But the face. That was what froze them. Two bulbous eyes reflected the headlights like whetstones. A wide, lipless mouth stretched across its face. And when it blinked sideways. Jake whispered, "What is that?" The creature took one step toward the road. Then another. It moved like a person, but not quite. As if it was imitating walking, copying the motion without ever fully understanding it. And then, it raised the object in its hand. Not aggressively. Almost as if it wanted to show them something. And that's when Jake panicked. He slammed the gas. The car jumped forward. The creature flinched and darted sideways, an impossibly fast, fluid movement, vanishing into the fog and over the guardrail with a wet, hollow sound. Nobody spoke for minutes. When they finally did, each of them tried to convince the others that maybe it was a prank, maybe it was a weird animal, maybe the fog played tricks on their eyes. But they all knew the truth. They had seen something alive. Something watching them. Something that should not exist on land, but does. What makes their encounter even stranger is that their story was not unique. For decades, people near Loveland and along the Ohio River have reported sightings of a frog-like humanoid, always near water, always late at night. Stories describe webbed hands and feet, skin like wet leather, a strange walking gait, a slow, deep croaking sound heard from under bridges. The creature carrying some kind of rod or stick in several accounts. Truckers have seen it dart across the road. Fishermen swear they've heard splashing behind them only to turn and find nothing. Hikers report a figure crouching at the riverbank before sliding silently into the water. The details line up too well to ignore. And the fear in eyewitnesses' voices. That part is universal. Now let's skip forward to the early 1970s, when one of the strangest official reports ever made came from a police officer on patrol. It was shortly after midnight. The officer was driving slowly along the riverside road when he saw something crouched on the embankment. Just like Jake and his friends years later, he thought it was a person in trouble. So he stopped, rolled down his window, shined his spotlight, and then, according to his own written statement, the creature stood up. Again, tall, leathery skin, frog-like features, reflective eyes, and something thin, stick-like in its hand. It turned toward him. And then, without warning, it scrambled over the guardrail and climbed down the embankment toward the river. The officer described the movement as unnatural and unbelievably fast. He filed the report. It became local legend. And for a while, the town whispered about the frogman non-stop. But here's where it gets messy. Years later, the same officer changed his story. He said it wasn't the creature at all. He claimed he'd actually seen a large iguana that someone had released. That the fog, the darkness, and its unusual size confused him. That his original report was an overreaction. And many people accepted that explanation. But many didn't. Because how does a full-grown, trained police officer mistake a 3 to 5 foot tall, upright moving, humanoid shape for an iguana? How does an iguana stand up on 2 legs? And what about the other sightings before and after his? Something doesn't add up. So what is the truth? Is the frogman just a weird piece of local folklore? A misidentified animal? A runaway pet reptile that got bigger than expected? Or is it something else entirely, something living in the rivers, swamps, and wetlands, something we've only glimpsed in the fog? The police officer may have walked back his story. Maybe his encounter really was an iguana. But the others? The dozens of sightings over nearly a century. The descriptions that match almost perfectly. And the fear people still feel when they remember those nights. Well, some mysteries deserve to remain unanswered. Thank you for watching Mysteries from the Orb. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share. Because we have many more mysteries waiting in the dark.